Question 11 was on trigonometry. It says work out the size of angle x. So whenever we're asked to find an angle, we're going to be using trigonometry. So we should remember SOHCAHTOA. There's various mnemonics to help you remember this, but with enough practice you can just write it out like that. And to start off with trigonometry, we label our sides. So opposite the angle that they give you in the question is called the opposite. I'm going to write OPP for short. Opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to write HYP for short. And the third side is the adjacent, which literally means next to the angle. So I'm trying to find the angle x, and I need to decide which one of these I'm going to use. So we think about it. We know the hypotenuse, because we know that's 11. We know the adjacent. We don't know the opposite, and we're not asked to find it out. So this is the side that I'm not interested in, because if I had this in my formula, I'm not going to be able to work it out. So I do not want the opposite. So the only thing that does not have the opposite is CA. So that's what I'm going to use. And we should remember that we can make a formula triangle with this. So for CA it's C, A and H. Again, the letters must be in this order. So for SO it will be SOH, or for TOA it will be TOA. Make your triangle. And we need to remember that the C stands for cos of the angle. This is sine of the angle, cos of the angle, and tan of the angle. Now I want to find out x, which is down here. I need to cover that up. And it's important that you write down what the formula is. So cos x, cover that up. Remember that means adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And writing in what I know the cos of the angle, that's what the x stands for, equals the adjacent, which is 8 centimeters, over the hypotenuse, which was 11. And to find out the angle itself, this is when I need to use the inverse function. So it's going to be the inverse of cos, and 8 over 11. So putting this into my calculator, I need to press the shift button or second function button for cos, open my brackets, and it's 8 over 11. And that gives me 43.34. It doesn't tell me how to give my answer, whether I need to round it or not. So I'm going to write 43.341 ... to show the examiner that the line that it goes on forever. And then in my answer I'm just going to write 43.3 to 1 decimal place. If you look at the mark scheme for that one, we can see that the bit in brackets means that you don't need to actually have that bit to get the mark. So if you wrote 43 point something or just 43, you're going to get both marks for that. In part B, it then says work out the length of y. So again, we've got a new triangle. We're going to label it first. Opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. Now, if we think carefully, we want to have this included because we know how long it is, so that's the adjacent. And we're also going to want this in our formula, since that's what we're trying to find out. What we're not interested in is the hypotenuse, because we're not asked to find out how long it is, and we're not given how long it is either. So looking back at our SOHCAHTOA, the bit that doesn't have the hypotenuse in is TOA. So that's what I'm going to need. I'm going to draw out my triangle for TOA, make sure the letters are in the right way round. I'm going to put X there to remind me that's the angle. And this time I'm trying to find out Y, which I've labelled the opposite. So I'm going to cover up the opposite, and I can now see, remembering that this means times, that it's tan of the angle multiplied by the adjacent. I'm going to write that down first. So the opposite equals the tan of the angle multiplied by the adjacent. So tan of the angle, well, the angle was 40, so it's tan 40, multiplied by the adjacent, which was 37. So I just need to put this into my calculator. Tan 40 multiplied by 37 gives me 31.04. Can put dot 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 to show it goes on forever. My answer. And then I'm just going to round that off. I'm going to put 31.0 to one decimal place. And again, looking at the mark scheme, they have said that 31 points something, you don't necessarily need to have the bit in brackets, would give you 2 marks.